Okay, effective communication. I suppose effective is up for interpretation, right? What is it to effectively communicate? But for the purposes of this video, I want to say that effective communication is when you are able to inform the other person of whatever messaging you had. Doesn't mean that they received it or they understand it, but that you did everything in your control to relay the information to them, to inquire, to inspire, to influence, whatever it might have been. So let's just start with that, right? And you have to understand, of course, that you have really no control over whether the other person actually responds to what you are saying, right? Let's say you are pitching something to a client, or you're asking your boss for a raise, or you're asking someone for an informational interview, or you're in the informational interview and you're trying to relay some of your skills and see where they might be able to connect you with some other people who are in need of those skills, or you are in a meeting and you want to self-promote, you want to communicate that your contribution to a certain project, you're giving a keynote. I mean, it could be anything. We're always communicating, and we're not always communicating with words, right? We're communicating with our body language, with our tone, our energy when we're speaking or not speaking. So with our clothes. So there's a lot more to this. This is kind of a simplistic overview of how to effectively communicate. And really what I wanted to bring home the most to you is that you get to set the tone. If you are the one initiating the communication, you get to set the tone. And you really want to come from a place of calm and clear, if at all possible. So if you've been watching any of the other videos, you know that reacting, resisting, numbing are not great things to do with a feeling. If you're feeling nervous, don't do any of those things when you begin the conversation. You want to come from a place of as neutral and calm as you possibly can. You'll be heard you'll more likely be heard if you are coming from that place. And I'm thinking about a few experiences I've had with clients, one of whom, we've worked a lot of times on this we've worked a lot of times. We've spent a lot of time on this where an employee is hearing this and she is saying this, and they just continue to miscommunicate. And the only person responsible for that has to be the person who wants to be heard, because it is her responsibility to be clearer, to figure out even more another way, another angle to share with the employee what it is that she is wishing to relate, wanting to relate, needing to relate, you could even say. And instead, what can happen is if you've tried once and then the person doesn't react the way you wanted them to, or they don't behave differently as a result, we can get exasperated, frustrated. We can make assumptions about why. We can just think, I told them what to do. It doesn't mean they heard it, right? So you want to take full responsibility throughout the conversation and after the conversation. It's always good to ask clarifying questions like, what are you hearing me say right here? What are your expectations? I'll share my expectations. I'm thinking about this if it was a conversation between a boss and an employee. If it were in a meeting where you are doing some self-promoting, you would probably not be asking that many clarifying questions, but you would want to go slowly and calmly and make eye contact with everyone and stay confident, stay clear, very focused on what your mission is. My mission is to influence at this moment. I will stay clear and true to that. If the people are going to respond more to data, have data. If people like more stories, have stories. You really have to know your audience, the audience of one or the audience of many, to know best how to share what it is that you are communicating. So this slide deck will go over a lot more details about this, and it's still just skimming the surface. If this is an area that you'd like some more help in, this is something I spend a lot of time with, especially new leaders or leaders who are stepping into a role they haven't stepped into before. It is very important to begin immediately as a strong, clear, kind communicator. This is not about being clever. It's about being clear. This is not about being manipulative. This is about being very transparent and creating more credibility for yourself. And anyway, again, scratching the surface, but let me know if you've got any questions. Feel free just to send them along. Okay, communication, effective communication. It is getting the message that you intend to get across and then getting confirmation that you have.